After spending over a week with the post-release Switch, I feel I can make a better review than others like IGN who rush out a review of a pre-release device, oblivious that they are doing so. At the same time, I feel like I should talk about the huge issues a lot of people are talking about, in my research and theories about some of them and why they are happening. In a lot of ways, it is exactly what I expected. It takes any game and makes it portable, which automatically makes it the superior device when playing a multi-platform, over competing hardware that is marketed as cutting-edge and pixel pushing. Unlike its competition, the Switch is all about functionality. The portability aspect on its own would make for a very compelling device that could cast an imposing shadow over competitors who have already rooted themselves deep into 8th gen soil. But I can see the brainstorming sessions deep in Nintendo's Kyoto headquarters, where they have the concept down and the team supervisor asks how can they make this device better, and someone grabs a piece of paper and suggests separating the controllers for added convenience, and another points out doing so with the original concept would yield 2 controllers, and by putting 2 buttons on the console facing side, it would become 2 controllers with almost identical functionality. Both of these features sweeten the device's appeal even more, particularly the ability to yank these Joy-Cons off and hand one to somebody to play with them. Especially since no portable has ever supported multiplayer like that. That isn't to say the option to attach controllers to a piece of plastic when playing at home isn't a great addition, because it is more comfortable to use the grip, much more than playing free-handed and slightly over-attached to the screen. The feature has also lowered the cost of owning the Switch. If it wasn't possible, Nintendo would have had to have bundled the controller with the system and increased the price to about $350, and had a tight profit margin. The Joy-Cons and the grip are perfectly fine, and a Pro Controller is unnecessary. I expected the directional buttons would be much worse than they are, but it actually isn't too bad. A D-pad is better, but it works, and I can see an aftermarket D-pad thing eventually. You know, a little suction cup or adhesive on a plastic D-pad, you just put it over the buttons and you'd have an even closer tactile sensation to an actual D-pad. I initially thought the lower travel distance on the sticks would be more of a concern, and it could be in a game like Smash Bros. But I think it wouldn't be much harder to tilt instead of tap. Though having a toggle to prevent the movement stick from registering taps and having the C-stick exclusively handle smashes would work fine. The aspect I didn't consider was the fact Nintendo really doesn't want you to turn the system off, instead having you long press the home button to go into a sleep mode that is essentially more off than the Wii or Wii U ever was, unless you unplug them. And when you wake the Switch, you are instantly back where you went to sleep. It is a surreal and wonderful feeling to have to put the device into sleep to go to work, or sleep, and then come back and resume right where you were. It makes for a surprisingly seamless experience, like you just took a pause break to get a snack or pee, even though hours passed. I know the 3DS should have had the same effect, but it is a different feeling. Perhaps because this is the fastest and quietest Nintendo hardware since the DS. You want to go to settings? Well, you were right in there. No waiting for the system to restart in settings mode, and then having to restart in normal mode like with the 3DS or Wii U. There is a way to get into the eShop, but it is a matter of seconds, unlike how the Wii U had a point where you'd have to wait 5 to 7 minutes to get into the eShop. The eShop does have a major con for me though, and that is that it doesn't save any of your payment data, nor can you select multiple items to buy at once. I'm sure this is to prevent someone from stealing your device and spending thousands of dollars in the eShop, but that's why we have parental controls and security. Where's my vein pattern authentication the patent talked about? I want thieves to have to copy my vascular system. I also find it concerning there is no easy way to move data, but it's not been a problem for me yet. The fact the system is still not complete is also a problem for me, even though it can at least stand on its own feet now. We've still heard nothing about an estimate on Netflix or the Virtual Console. Now about these problems. I know there are those who are trying to excuse them all away, and then you have others like Metal Dave self-righteously white knighting for their friends and condescendingly calling Nintendo to automatically take the blame for every problem someone reports. And just to be clear, I'm not starting drama with Metal Dave. He has the right to feel that way and express himself. But I don't think he's right, and that's okay. It's also not right to excuse Nintendo because there are definitely defective units out there. Nintendo should replace them as they are doing. and I think even extend the warranties for all launch Windows systems by a year, just as a gesture that they are going to make sure the first few million, their core, are taken care of. Some of these issues aren't Nintendo's responsibility though. One friend put the Joy-Con strap on backwards, but that is user error. I swear when I set up my system, Nintendo told me how to put those things on twice, and even without that and having adult ADD, I could deduce how to put them on and pay enough attention to succeed. If I thought kids would be using them, maybe Nintendo should, but they are designed for larger adult hands. I don't think that is a priority Nintendo should address. The Joy-Cons not responding after you are 10 feet from the system I also don't think is a pressing issue. 10 feet is pretty far to be from the TV, or God forbid the console on tabletop mode. The screen scratching problem is one that I have asked my friends about very heavily, and none of us have had any issue. But we also are all relatively careful when docking and undocking. I spent a lot of time confused about how this could happen apart from people being extremely rough and careless in docking, and I have two theories. First, the factory may have a defective mold being used for the docks that has an extremely jagged edge, and I'd like to see pictures of a dock that someone believes scratched their device, because if this is the case, that's something Nintendo needs to get on fast. However, I have noticed one thing in common with a lot of problem switches where the owner shows their setup. Something that none of my friends have done, and that is putting the dock on its side. Having the dock face down would have the screen resting directly on the plastic slopes inside the dock, and if you slid it out, I can easily see that scratching the screen, and that would be user error without question. But this is still something they should do something about, since kids may dock and undock this roughly. Nintendo should definitely have a warning to keep the dock upright. Rolling the dock sideways on its back would probably be safe for protecting the screen. I don't think it's a good idea for the other big problem. A lot of people have reported erratic operation and artifacts when playing, and there are 3 likely causes, 2 of which may be caused or worsened by docking sideways. First, which I'm sure is the case for at least some, is just a bad batch of GPUs. Second would be damaging the connection port on the dock, which is on a little pressure sensitive disk which could be damaged, or not get a good connection by docking on its side. I don't think this would be the problem at this point though, because you need to be extremely rough in docking, or dock sideways over the course of months or years. I suppose this could be an issue if it's just a poor connection and not damage. The final possibility is overheating, and I know a lot of people have stuck thermometers in the exhaust vent and recorded temperatures of about 120 degrees. But let's talk about science a little, and how the switch works. A basic scientific principle is that heat rises. I think we all learned this in elementary school. The switch takes advantage of this principle and has heat pipes to move the heat from the GPU to the ventilation shaft. When the system is docked in a normal way, or in tabletop mode, the heat naturally rises up and out of the system. The switch also has a tiny little weak fan to help push the heat out. When you play a game that produces a lot of heat, I doubt the fan will be enough, and you could trap heat until it builds up and your device overheats. The problem is worsened in more enclosed spaces. And guess what I've seen when a lot of people share their setup? Dock on its side and in a semi-enclosed space. You may think this is still something Nintendo didn't plan for, but should've. After all, since the PS2, nearly every console can be vertical or on its side, even the Wii and Wii U. But all of those systems have loud fans. Big, loud, powerful fans wouldn't work in a handheld device. You'd feel the fan spinning and jittering your system, and you'd have a thicker, loud handheld with a much worse battery life. The fact the Switch is quiet is a big pro. Normal people shouldn't have to deal with a loud handheld because some people want to put it on its side. If this is causing systems to overheat, Nintendo only needs to make sure people know not to keep it level on its side for long periods. I'll eventually also review Breath of the Wild, Bomberman, and I Am Setsuna, if I can get through the game without falling asleep. So be prepared for that, and for the comment Heartless Nobody said, upgrade your arrow and bombs. On the Link to the Past sequence break I did when I was sick, and I regret doing it, to test my ability to record gameplay through a DVD-R VCR combo. Very ghetto, $70. I think I did upgrade them later though. And what videos are going to appear here? Nobody knows. Oh no, I don't think that video is very good. I wouldn't have picked it, and regret making it.